I don't know if you've heard, but the real estate market is absolutely crazy right now, especially here in New Jersey. And we've got buyers who are using some really interesting strategies in order to win homes in multiple offer situations. Now, some of these strategies can come with pitfalls, whether you are a buyer or a seller. So today, I want to talk to you about some of those pitfalls, what you can do to avoid them, and make sure you have the best outcome possible. This is Monday Mornings with Mark. Hi, I'm your host, Mark J. Schmidt of Remax Country and MoveMeMark.com, where I help you get the most out of the real estate market and your home. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and make sure you like us on Facebook so you don't miss out. I read a story recently of a woman in California who was trying to buy a house. She had put offers on multiple properties. She didn't get any of them. And then she decided, let's get really aggressive with the offer that we make. So she puts an offer on a house. She employs some of these aggressive techniques and she gets the house. The problem is that she had a lot of surprises after she closed and she wasn't really happy. And now she's thinking about selling because she's so unhappy with this home she bought. I want to make sure that you don't get into that situation. You see, in this market we're in right now, there's a lot of demand and there's not a lot of supply. And what we're seeing happening is people really going whole hog trying to get this house. And sometimes you've got to step back and say, is what I'm doing in my best interest? Either right now or down the road, like 5-10 years from now when I'm looking to sell. So today I wanted to go over some of the things that I've seen people doing and what you can do to make sure that you're not going to have a negative outcome from it. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is home inspection waivers. This is something that I've seen buyers doing, and that's basically where you say, you know what, we're going to buy this home as is, and we're going to waive the home inspection. Sometimes we're not even going to have a home inspection. We're just going to buy the house and, it looks pretty good. That's fine. This is one of the scariest things you can do as a buyer, in my opinion, because what you're doing is you're really hoping that the home is in good shape. I say hoping, you're really gambling that the home is in good shape. Now, let me tell you, I've been doing this since 2002. I've been on plenty of home inspections, and I've been on home inspections where the homes look fantastic. The problem is that when you dig a little deeper and you look behind things, you find out that maybe things weren't done properly, or maybe there are some things that you can't see, like maybe a high radon level. Maybe there's some black mold in a corner of the house you didn't notice. And those things that you can't see can really come back to bite you in the backside, as they say. So doing a home inspection waiver, I really wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend, if you're interested in getting a house and you want to, kind of get the seller on your side, is say that, listen, we're not going to nickel and dime you on home inspection issues. What we'll do is we're just interested in the major systems of the house, or if there's any health hazards. Something like that makes sense to a seller. You shouldn't be responsible for cleaning up someone else's mess. If someone's, didn't maintain their furnace, or maybe they have some problem with the house, it really shouldn't be up to you to fix that. And the thing is, you really don't want to fix that down the road. It doesn't make you feel good when you get into a house, maybe you have a home inspection after you move in, and you find out something bad is going on. So what you should do is tell them, I'm not going to ask for any minor items, nothing cosmetic. It's just going to be major systems, health hazards, fire hazards, things like that. Be reasonable with them, and they'll most likely be reasonable with you. The second thing I've come across is appraisal waivers. Now, if you're buying a home and you're getting a mortgage, your lender is going to insist that you have an appraisal on the house, so they make sure they're not loaning you more money than the home is actually worth. With an appraisal waiver, you're telling the seller, listen, if the home doesn't appraise, we'll make up the difference between the appraised value and what we're spending on the home. So for example, if the home is, the sale price is say $450 and the appraisal comes in at $430, you agree to bring $20,000 with you to the closing. One thing I would recommend, if you're interested in going the route of an appraisal waiver, is making sure that it's not unlimited. You don't have to give them whatever they want as far as an appraisal waiver goes, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that. What I suggest you do is say, we'll give you an appraisal waiver up to $10,000 or up to $20,000. What that means is, as long as the home appraises within that amount, then you're going to bring that extra cash to the closing, the seller can feel good, and you can know that you've got this house. By doing that, you're limiting your exposure. You're making sure you're not going to have to bring endless amounts of money to the closing, and everybody's happy. So just be careful whenever using an appraisal waiver. Now, the third thing is a leaseback. So sometimes with a seller, they may need some extra time to find their next home. So a buyer will agree to close and let the former owner, rent the house back from them for a specified amount of time. That's absolutely fine. You know, this is probably the least risky of the three things I'm mentioning for buyers today. But one thing you do want to do is you want to make sure that first you have a final walkthrough before the closing, before you actually close on the house. You have a right to take a look at the house and make sure everything is in decent shape. So you definitely want to have a walkthrough then. You also want to have a walkthrough before they vacate. Once they actually leave the house and give you possession, you want to have another final walkthrough to make sure that they've left everything in good shape, that they haven't banged up any walls or damaged anything on their way out. To that end, you also want to make sure that you have some money from the sellers set aside in escrow, maybe $500 or $1,000, whatever you and the seller can agree on, so that if anything does get damaged, there's money set aside that can be used to fix anything that is, in need of fixing. Like I said, that's probably the easiest of the three options that we have here, but you still want to make sure you're protected and you're not going to get into a house that is banged up because the sellers didn't do a good job on their way out. Now, as far as the seller side of it goes, there are a few good pitfalls for you as well. So the first is, we have all of these multiple offer situations. How do you know you're picking the right offer? You want to make sure that you're going to pick the right offer that not only is going to get you the most amount of money, but is also going to get you to the closing table. You want to cross the finish line. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing a number of items. You want to make sure, first of all, not just the amount of money that they're giving you, but you want to make sure they're putting a decent amount of money down. Someone with more money down is going to be a better risk than someone with less money down. So money down is important. You also want to look at your closing date. Are they going to give you time to find your next home? Are they going to be interested in possibly leasing the home back to you if you need some extra time? All of these things come into play. It's not always about, who's going to give me the most amount of money. Someone can give you the most amount of money, but if they say you need to be out in 2 weeks, you may not want to do that. The other thing you want to look at is, are they offering an escalation clause? I made a video previously about escalation clause. I'll put it right here for you. But escalation clauses are a little tricky. That's where, they will, a buyer will agree to pay so much money above the next highest offer. You have to decide if that's something you're going to want to get involved in. I recommend you watch my video so that you can kind of know the hazards of dealing with escalation clauses. But that first thing is really important, making sure you pick the right offer, the one that's going to get you to the finish line. The next thing you need to look out for is home inspections. Now, I've seen a couple things happening with home inspections. One is that if they didn't agree to any sort of home inspection waiver, if you didn't agree to any home inspection waiver, sometimes there are buyers who will say, you know what? The home inspection is my time to make some money back. I'm going to complain about everything so that they have to give me money back at closing. Sometimes people will do that. What you want to do is you really want to make sure that you lay that out ahead of time. If you are open to making repairs over home inspection issues, just like I said for the buyers, you can do that yourself. You can say, you know what, we're not going to fix everything. If there's something, a major system is in need of repair, if it's a health hazard, if it's a fire hazard, if it's something safety related, that's fine. But we're not going to go and fix the kitchen faucet handle, which is a little jiggly. lay that out ahead of time. Set that expectation before you get into the home inspection phase, before you even sign a contract, because you want to make sure that you're all on the same page, and you want to let them know, listen, we're not going to go crazy here. We're selling this home largely as is, but if it's something, important, we'll consider it. So don't get trapped by buyers demanding money over home inspections. The third pitfall you have to look out for is not finding your next home. Now, here in New Jersey, we've got limited inventory. We're expecting more homes to come on the market, but there's a lot of buyers out there. And those buyers create demand, just like they created demand for your home, they're creating demand for the home that you might want to buy or even rent. So what you need to do is make sure you have, some sort of backup plan in place. So first, find out from your buyer if they will allow you to lease your home back after the closing. That'll give you some extra time. You can also look into a short-term rental. You might also want to see if you have a relative or someone who you might be able to crash with for a while you're finding your next place. Now, if you are looking to move out of state, there are obviously not every market is the same. You might be moving to an area with a little bit more inventory on the market where you'll have a bit more of a selection. But if not, you can even look into renting something where you're going. Definitely listen, if you are moving out of state, reach out to me. I'll be happy to put you in touch with a real estate professional wherever you're moving who can not only help you find temporary housing if you need it, but can help you find your next forever home. Don't get into a situation where you're just calling up a real estate office and choosing whoever answers the phone. That's not a great way to do it. I can help you find someone who's going to do a good job for you. But definitely making sure you have your next home is important. So make sure you ask these questions ahead of time. Make sure you kind of have an idea of where you're going to go next. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I want to make sure that you limit your exposure to any of these pitfalls. So if you follow what I am telling you to do, you really should have a good time buying and a good time selling. Now listen, if you have questions about buying or selling a home, there's a fantastic resource. It's my website. You can find me at www.MoveMeMark.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you missed our last episode, I've got it right here. And here's another episode that YouTube thinks you should watch. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that circle and subscribe so you don't miss out. And I'll see you next week for more Monday Mornings with Mark. You have a great week.